The United Arab Emirates on Tuesday insisted the output cut announced this month by the oil cartel OPEC and its allies, including Russia, was not politically motivated against the United States. The 13-nation Saudi-led OPEC cartel and its 10 allies, headed by Russia, angered Washington by cutting production to 2 million barrels a day from November, adding further upward pressure on alleviated crude prices. Saudi Arabia has already previously insisted that the October 5th move by OPEC Plus was taken purely on economic considerations and rejected as a baseless allegation that it was politically motivated against Washington. And on Tuesday, the UAE's energy minister, Suhail al-Marzoui, said that the OPEC Plus decision was good and that it had made possible to bring prices back and stabilize them at a level close to the October 2021 prices. Each member of OPEC Plus takes into account the interest of their country and the interest of the industry, which is based on the balance between supply and demand. The Gulf oil producers have also reiterated their support for OPEC Plus decisions, emphasizing its economic dimensions. And on a global scale, taking a look at the global economy, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Friday that many of the challenges facing the global economy stem from the Russia-Ukraine war, in addition to the continued effects of the pandemic. But also policymakers are improving coordination to tackle them. At a news conference during the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank's annual meetings in Washington, Yellen said that the U.S. economy remains resilient, but inflation remains too high, and bringing it down remains President Joe Biden's top priority. She also said, global policymakers gathering in Washington agreed on decisive action to tame the inflation, secure energy supplies, and address many other challenges. Yellen said the exact dollar level of a price cap on Russian oil had not yet been determined, but insisted that she had not suggested a price cap of $60 a barrel and was basically being actively considered. Adding that the exact level of oil price capping would be determined together with other countries in the coalition in coordination with them. Still on financial news and back again in Europe, the German investor confidence climbed slightly in October, but remained at a low level as Europe's top economy braces for a recession triggered by soaring energy costs. The economic expectation index unexpectedly inched up to minus 59.2 points from minus 61.91 points in September. Most investors are pessimistic and also recorded a steep drop in investor confidence about Germany's current economic situation. That reading fell by 11.7% in October to minus 72.2 points. The German government last week said that the country was forecasting to descend into recession next year and shrink by 0.4% because of the fallout of the Russia-Ukraine war. Germany is bracing for an energy crisis this winter after Russia shut down its crucial Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline, leaving the industrial powerhouse scrambling to diversify supplies. The German government has pledged a €200 billion energy fund to cushion the impact on households and businesses. Moving on to the world of technology and science, we're going to start off with China. Delegates of the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, or CPC, pledged to innovate and make breakthroughs in science and technology so as to contribute to the strategy of invigorating China through science and education, which was stressed by Xi Jinping's report delivered at the opening session of the 20th CPC National Congress on Sunday. Education, science and technology, as well as human resources, are a foundational and strategic pillar for building a modern socialist country, according to the report. The country will continue to give high priority to development of education, build self-reliance, and strengthen science and technology, as well as relying on talents to pioneer and propel development. noting that China will speed up work to build a strong educational system, greater scientific and technological strength, and a quality workforce. Over the past decade, China has witnessed breakthroughs in key technologies and emerging markets and industries for strategic importance. The country has achieved big progress in manned space missions, supercomputers, and quantum information. And over to the outer space, where a 4-member space crew Dragon team, including a Russian cosmonaut and the first Native American woman, went to orbit safely and docked within the International Space Station, known as the ISS, on Thursday, and moved aboard to begin a 5-month science mission. The autonomously flying Crew Dragon capsule, dubbed Endurance, was lofted onto the orbit on Wednesday atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, Florida. On arrival, the Endurance crew spent nearly 2 hours conducting a series of standard procedures like checking for leaks and pressurizing the chambers between the capsule and the ISS before opening entry hatches. The Endurance crew marked the 5th full-fledged ISS team NASA has flown aboard a SpaceX capsule since the private rocket venture founded by CEO Elon Musk began sending U.S. astronauts to space in May 2020. SpaceX has flown 8 crewed missions to orbit in all, including non-NASA flights. The new arrivals are set to conduct more than 200 experiments, and during the 150-day mission, many focused on medical research ranging from 3D bioprinting of human tissue to study of bacteria cultured in microgravity. ISS, spanning the length of a football field, has been continuously occupied since 2000, operated by U.S.-Russian-led partnership that includes Canada, Japan, and 11 other European countries. More in the tech news, SpaceX's Starlink services helped restore energy and communication infrastructure in Ukraine's critical areas, according to the country's Vice Prime Minister, Mikhailo Fedorov. He added that despite over 100 cruise missiles attacking Ukraine's energy and communications infrastructure, Starlink quickly restored connections to critical areas. Some of the Starlink internet devices that had suffered outages have come back online in the past few days, restoring crucial lines of communication in territory recently taken back from Russian forces. In February, when Ukraine's internet was disrupted following the Russia-Ukraine war, SpaceX chief Elon Musk said Starlink satellite broadband services was available in the country, and SpaceX was sending more terminals to the Ukraine. And in the world of the arts and culture, the K-pop boy band BTS reunited on Saturday for a concert in Busan in support of South Korea's bid to host the World Expo 2030 in the southern port city. The free concert, titled BTS Yet to Come in Busan, drew an audience of about 50,000 people to the stadium. A total of 100,000 were expected to visit the stadium and other areas, according to the Busan Metropolitan City authorities, with some fans watching the event live on large screens set up on several places around the city. The concert followed the 7-member band's announcement of a break in June from group musical activities to pursue solo projects, raising questions about the band's future. In July, the K-pop sensation BTS was named as the official ambassador for the World Expo 2030 in Busan, over 300 kilometers southeast of the capital, Seoul. 4 countries, including South Korea, Italy, Ukraine, and Saudi Arabia, have submitted competing candidatures to organize the World Expo 2030, according to the Expo's organizing body. The host country of the World Expo 2030 is expected to be elected next year. And in saddening news, Robbie Coltrane, the larger-than-life Scottish actor who played Hagrid in the Harry Potter films, died on Friday at the age of 72, according to his agent. Coltrane's more than 4-decade-long career ranged from roles in James Bond films GoldenEye and The World Is Not Enough to a lead in the 1990s British TV series Cracker as criminal psychologist Dr. Edward Fitzgerald. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling led the tributes on Twitter, writing that she will never know anyone remotely like Robbie again. Coltrane's agent, Belinda Wright, called him a unique talent, saying he had brought joy to children across the world playing the boy wizard's giant monster-loving friend. Born Anthony Robert McKillen in Rutherglen, South Lancashire, the actor changed his name to a homage to celebrate jazz musician John Coltrane. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon had said Robbie Coltrane, Scottish entertainment legend, he will be hugely missed. And British actor and broadcaster Stephen Fry, who narrated the British version of Harry Potter's audiobooks, wrote that he had met Coltrane almost 40 years ago. Coltrane died in hospital near Farclink in Scotland. He is survived by his sister Annie Ray, his children Spencer and Alice, and their mother Ronna Gamel, his agent Wright said. And back home, an international celebration was held last week for the 50th anniversary of Italian luxury fashion house Stefano Ricci at the Temple of Hatshepsut on the west bank of Luxor. The celebration started with a dinner party in Luxor Temple in the presence of 500 international figures, including artists, politicians and public figures. A fashion show was on display during the event, inspired by Egyptian civilization. The show was dominated by golden colors of gilded pharaonic pieces, inscriptions of temples and the blue colors of the Nile. Models emerged from the dazzling sides of the temple amongst the statues of the Queen Hatshepsut in the Osirian body to the catwalk. The ceremony concluded with the operatic melodies of Italian multi-instrumentalist opera singer Andrea Bocelli. Stefano Ricci then greeted the audience and thanked the Egyptian government for the warm reception and for facilitating the procedures to host the show. Joining us over the phone to tell us more about the event that took place in Luxor and future events, Yahia Abdel Qader, the advisor for the Minister of Tourism, is joining us over the phone. Good evening to you, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Having such an event, a major event like this fashion house hosting its 50th anniversary in the Luxor Temple, is something that's very big, I suppose, for Egypt. And later this year, there's also another fashion house that is expected to host a show at the Pyramids of Giza. How important are these events to advertise the country's tourism industry?
Well, really, thank God, because this was a sensational event, like the major, reputable and extremely famous fashion designer of Stefano Ricci. They held their 50th anniversary, over the Hatshepsut, Queen Hatshepsut temple and the Valley of the Queens. And then on the other side, in the east front of Egypt, on the Nile, we had other celebrations at the Luxor and at Karnak temple. So they had celebrations for 3 days. They invited top 500,
yes,
celebrities worldwide. And it was a sensational event that promoted and shed too much, extremely highlight the beauty and the charm and heritage of Thebes, ancient Thebes, and today Luxor.
So in the past, as far as I know, that getting permissions and going through certain red tape was a deterrent for a lot of artists or movie makers to host shows or film a project in Egypt. Is there a strategy by the ministry, I suppose, to make this process of hosting such events easier, having Hollywood movies film here easier?
Well, yeah, definitely yes, because the Ministry of Tourism, under the patronage of His Excellency Dr. Ahmad Isa, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, they have a solid strategy,
yes,
for highlighting the attractions and heritage and destinations of Egypt. So I think other fashion houses has been moved, and on December 3rd, we are going to have the pre-fall collection of Christian Dior again, at the
Yes, and there's also movies. I know there are a lot of movies that are about Egypt that weren't filmed in Egypt but filmed in other countries. Is the future going to hold a possibility of easing the process of filming here in Egypt? Like I heard that a popular series, Moon Knight, may be filming here in Egypt as well.
Yes, this is the part of, like a strategy for promoting Egyptian identity and heritage for antiquities, really,
Yes.
and to make it, like one of the mega spots worldwide. That's going to be extremely, famous, like episodes, and productions. It's going to be in the heritage sites in Old Cairo and the museums and the, remember shortly, inshallah, we're going to have the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum. And this is a major attraction and icon for Egyptian heritage and civilization. Yes, there's going to be more shows and more filming and more highlighting of Egyptian antiquities. Definitely, yes.
Okay, Mr. Yahia Abdel Qader, the advisor for the Minister of Tourism, thank you so much for joining us over the phone and shedding light on the importance of advertising the Egyptian tourism industry. We're going to take a short break and get on with the rest of the show.